liberty and justice for all.
Okay. 3.0, approval of the agenda, additions or deletions. I need a motion. So moved. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Is that you, John?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any comments on the agenda? Not those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carries. Public comment, no one apparently. Josh, okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda, 5.0. I need a motion for adopting the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Carmel, a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, any discussion on the consent agenda? All right, if not, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, 6.0, communication reports. First up is Jim Hula.
All right, good evening. Just to highlight some of the things, I wanted to tell you kind of what's been going on with my number one. That was the pairing agreement with Benson KMS on gymnastics, and then the same thing, number two, with pairing agreement on hockey. So last year, I talked to both ADs, and they basically agreed there was not going to be charged to our school, other than we agreed we have to pay the state high school league fee, which normally is $160 per activity. This year, remember, I went through the numbers and I dropped it back to 75. So we were okay with that. Both families have one family that wants to do the gymnastics, and then another family that wants to do the hockey in Marshall, and they both agreed to take care of transportation and paying the expenses associated with it. So about a month ago, I got a $1,500 bill from Benson. They have another new AD this year. And after our discussions, they agreed to throw that bill away, because I said there was an agreement last year that you said, yes, you're going to accept our student and there's not going to be any fee. They went and talked to the superintendent. The superintendent does not remember any conversation with last year's athletic director and he said that he probably would have never agreed to that, so he doesn't think it was ever discussed. So they did throw away that bill for this past season, but in the future here now, just with gymnastics, they are going to prorate it. So that takes coaching, all their travel, all that kind of stuff, and then they divide it by the number of athletes, so they can't give a direct number. But again, they think, providing the number of gymnasts stay about the same, it'll be about the $1,500 per year. I met with the parents and basically said our intention, we agreed to the co-op with the intention that we weren't going to pay any of it. And they said, well, is it different than the other sports? So I clarified, and then the difference is we don't have a lot of wrestlers, and we are paired in cross country, and there's not a real lot. But those are sports we've always had. The co-op, we had our own, and then we've co-opted as numbers have dropped, that we really have had no intention of adding sports. At this time, we really don't want to add hockey. We don't want to add gymnastics. We don't want to add soccer because of our district size and our number of students. We really don't have a student body to be able to fill more programs. If it is, it's going to end up, I really believe, probably making us lose other programs. So that's what the difference is of having some other co-ops that the school, pays for. Because then if we'd set that precedent, then all of a sudden somebody wants to go to St. Cloud and play lacrosse. It's like, where does it end? So the way we did it last year was, again, since the parents were willing to take this on and not have it be an expense to our district, we were okay doing a co-op. And I believe that's what we still want to continue doing. That's my recommendation, but again, that's always a board responsibility. So if this family wants to continue, they're going, at the end of the season, they will get hit for that. Roughly $1,500, and I left it up to them if they want to do it. I'm assuming they are going to want to do it. They did say this really isn't that much different than playing club volleyball. Then with hockey, they changed a little bit. There was not supposed to be an expense to Marshall either, and then they emailed me back and said, yep, yes, there is going to be a fee because it's kind of hard to charge Tracy and then us like your kid. But I'm assuming they're not going to prorate it. Hockey's very expensive. They just said they're going to charge us straight $500 per year, and their family has already agreed to pay that. So I just kind of wanted to fill you in if you hear anything. Is there any questions about those two things? Was that confusing?
So for like the KMS portion of the Benson KMS,
Yes.
like I assume they have a couple of gymnasts there. I don't know. But
No, they have quite a few.
out of KMS.
Yeah, one of the coaches are actually at KMS.
Oh, okay. So they're saying that the cost per student is like $1,500. Is
Per
that?
season, yes.
And that's why. Okay.
So like if KMS has 6 of them, they're paying $9,000. So that they're going to prorate it according to number of athletes.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions?
What about any liability insurance or anything? What would that fall if something, I mean, if the parents are transporting, it would fall on them, but what if it's during a meet or anything with insurance?
Well, they're still part of that team. Just because the school is
Okay.
not paying the fee, it'd be no different than any other athlete in any other sport.
Does it fall on our district then, or?
Yes. Well, I mean, are you talking like a bus accident or something?
No, I
like
guess
that?
if
Oh.
an athlete gets hurt.
It would probably be, right now, the athletes, their own
Their own
family's
private
health
insurance?
coverage. And there is, I think, catastrophic coverage they can buy through the state high school league if they choose to. But yeah, it would be no different than any other athlete. It would fall on their own family's health insurance. Anything else? Okay. You'll see then, Josh wanted me to talk about this year, we chose to bus our varsity football team over for multiple reasons. They wanted to use our home locker room. This is where they wanted to get ready. This is where their equipment is. It was always like going to an away game. And so they just asked this year, and it was a 1-year deal. And we said, yes, John. So John has a bus, and Josh just wanted me to basically highlight some of the positive things. First off, it's definitely a lot safer than having every one of them drive over there, on their own. Opens up a lot of spots in that parking lot over there for our fans. The players use their own locker room here. Coaches get an extra hour because they're meeting here at about 5 o'clock. We're over there. The kids were, if they said on the field at 6:15, the kids were popping in 10 minutes before that, and some were there an hour before. So they're meeting here as a team, which is helping with team camaraderie. They ride there, and it helps them get off the field. We like to, a lot of our sports here, we like to stay on the courts and the field for about an hour and a half after events. It seems like that's an exaggeration, but we're out there a long time, and this allows him to be able to say, all right, load the bus. He kind of can pick a time where there's times Scott finally had to just turn the lights off over there. So there were some of the positives to doing it this 1 year. And you'll see I have all the dates right now for the North-South game, October 23rd. We are leading. I think KMS is right there too, and we play them Thursday. And with that, I don't have it on here, but Thursday's KMS volleyball, because we have home volleyball and home football, we are going to play C and B at exactly the same time. Start at 4:30. The C is going to be down in the big elementary gym, and the B is going to be here. And right afterwards, hopefully 5:45, we're going to start the varsity match, and then we move football back to 7:30 because the volleyball players and their parents want to get to the football game as well. So that'll be time changes for this week. And you'll see down on number 5, I have the marching band concert date and the fall choir concert date, and maybe Judd had that all on his too.
Yep.
And then the music practices are in full swing, and I put the dates on there of the musical. Last year we had it in the spring because the auditorium wasn't ready, so we have it back to the fall. And you'll see the next page. Mrs. Tenson puts this together for us, the participation numbers, and she actually puts past years as well, so you can kind of follow the grade through and see how the numbers compare. All right, I know that was really quick, so I'm done finally.
I had a question. When you mentioned marching band concert, does that mean that we can expect the marching band to show up into our community celebrations?
We don't have marching band anymore. I mean, they stopped doing that a few years ago. Mrs. Sparks was
Okay.
here. They were not having members show up at I remember at the Clare City Parade, he was out there with the band and not enough band members showed up. And that happened a couple different times. So then Mrs. Sparks, before she left, she actually tried to switch it over, thought there'd be more interest in drumline, because that was a real hit, if you remember, back in the early 2000s. And to my knowledge, we still have them on the pay schedule, but we have not had marching band or drumline for a few years. But he still calls this the marching band because they do go and do pep band and things like that. So it's that type of music. But it's been in the gym in the past, And it's gonna move to the auditorium. He goes, they might do a little march around up the stage, but it's not gonna be all the stuff they do in the gym before. And that's, I don't really know any more about it than that, you know, I just know it when Mrs. Sparks was here, that kinda all changed.
Do they still do a band trip someplace?
Yes, they are going, we had to move the spring play this year because they're going in March when the spring play normally is, so spring play got moved back for them. And this year they're going to, now I can't remember, it's either Chicago or St. Louis.
Chicago
So
was
they-
last time.
Chicago, okay, they're going to St. Louis. this
Okay,
year.
so I know one time when they went to Disney, they were actually marching in a parade. That doesn't happen now?
I don't know that.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
good question. I don't really have anything to do with that trip. That's not under my realm, but
Well, they could do a performance, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't mean they're marching necessarily.
did they go out on the field at homecoming? No, because we had bad weather, so. So I
They weren't
guess
ready to.
they were going to go on the field and they went over and practiced for a couple hours, so I'm assuming they still do a little bit of that, but I just know
Okay.
Mr. Gronseth was not having enough kids show up to the,
For the summer
Parades,
marching.
yes.
For the summer marching.
and that's what that payroll was for basically to do it in the summer. It doesn't mean they can't do some stuff during the school year,
Okay.
okay?
So then through his contract, he does get paid for some summer activities, or, no?
No, we
Did that
don't,
come out
if we
with that
don't
number?
have that, then that is like a coaching
Okay.
stipend, so if it doesn't take place, then that's not. And I would have to look back, but I mean, if they're not doing it, then we don't have that. It may be on the pay schedule, but that doesn't mean we pay it. There's multiple things on there that we keep just because if it comes around again, it's easier than you guys having to all of a sudden add it.
I guess I've heard a lot just from all the community celebrations within the McRae district. They missed having a march or a band at the parade. It doesn't mean they have to march. They could ride on a flatbed. I mean, that's what we do in Raymond. We just, anybody's got a horn, you show up, and we did have a couple kids come last time and play with us, but I think it'd be really important if we could get that. It'd just be a way to give back to the communities for supporting the band, even if it's on the flatbed trailer, have them sit on there or whatever.
It is really big. I mean,
It's
I
fun.
enjoy it. It's probably one of the most fun. I like it way better than the fire trucks and the
Exactly.
antique tractors. I mean, I really do enjoy marching bands
Exactly.
too.
And even if they're not marching, music is a great thing to have at the parades.
I think
Maybe
we can
that's
ask
something
him,
we
he can
look
start
at.
seeing if he can get kids to show up to those 3 parades, it'd be nice, but I know you can't make them either in the summer,
Yeah.
but
But if there's excitement about what they're doing, maybe we can change that.
maybe Mr.
Change the
Wheatley and I
needle
can
a little
both
bit.
work on it.
All right, anything else for Jim? All right, if not, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, Mitchell Canyon.
Right, good evening, everybody. Happy Monday. First of all, I just wanted to go over just a quick update of how, it's crazy that we're into October already, but how the first several weeks of school have gone. I feel like just being our second year here, there's just, things have gone a lot smoother than they did last year, just with kind of the unknowns and, everything we did was the first time we did something. So this year now, having some experience under our belts and seeing what's worked, what maybe didn't work, what needed to be revised a little bit has kind of helped with some of those areas. We have had a good amount of new teachers and new paras helping again this year, so there's obviously been a kind of a get to know you period, and that part I feel like has gone really well so far. I'm super happy with the people, the staff that we have here. There's been a lot of good camaraderie things, a lot of just good morale type things. I feel like people have been a lot more willing to lend a hand, to help out with an area here or there. And I think, just that just helps everybody. I feel like just the mood and kind of your own willingness to want to help too when you see everybody else lending a hand. So I just wanted to throw that out there. With the students too, those first few weeks are kind of, we're adding some new families, some new students, and I don't think the dust ever fully settles in a school. There's always changes and things going on, but I feel like now we're finally to a point where everyone's getting a lot more comfortable with where we're at, and I'm just happy to see that and happy that everything has kind of gone well to this point. I also have some star results, our fall benchmarks. Kindergarten this year is using a new program, and they do not have any norms to go off of. So I did leave those out, and I apologize. I did not get this section in my report, but I did want to add that I do not have any previous years to compare it to, but I can send that to you, just so you have something to judge it off of as well. So I have our first grade through fifth grade reading and math norms, so percentage of students that are at or above grade level, and I can share this part with you as well. So first grade right now, reading is 27% at or above, math is 51%, second grade reading, 48% above or at, and math is 51%. Third grade is actually they're 52% for each, math and reading. Fourth grade is at 47% and for reading and 54% for math. And fifth grade is at 47% at or above for reading and 37% for math. So again, I can share with you what some previous years look like, because I do know we have all of that. And thank Beth Gustafson for being our data wizard and getting all of that lined up for us. So I appreciate the work she does, because she takes things that are kind of impossible to make out and when it's just by itself, but she puts it all together and makes it look a lot easier to comprehend. So I can get all of that for you as well. I believe I did mention this last month, but we will have a new reading curriculum this coming school year as well. And we'll have more guidance by MDE in January, I believe. So that'll help give us a better idea of what we'll be looking at there. And our curriculum team will be set up here in November, the end of November, so we'll be able to get rolling with that as well. Walk and bike to school. We've done that twice a year now. We have it in October, and there's another one, I believe, in May. So I feel like why not do it both times? The kids seem to enjoy it. I mean, we got lucky again with another beautiful morning. Just appreciate and want to thank all of the local agencies. We had Chippewa County Sheriffs, we had Raymond Fire Department, EMS, Clare City Fire and EMS, Maynard Fire and EMS as well. So I just want to thank everybody for making the trip over here. And I know it's not the longest trek ever, but it is. The kids love it. Getting to take part in that, being, a lot of them do just get dropped off either right at the front doors or the elementary entrance each day. So it's a fun little experience for them to get to take part in that. Hiring, we're getting there, but we could still use another elementary pair or two. So if you got anybody you're aware of, Judd, if you know of anyone, just let me know. We'd be happy to have them. We've had some really awesome hires here the last few weeks, so I'd just love to keep adding to that. Upcoming events, I could add about 8 more things since when I submitted this at the end of the week. We have our hearing and vision screenings coming up here for, I believe, every grade except for 4th. I think 4th grade, they're even looking at doing vision screening as well, just because we do know that things change from one year to the next. So they're looking at trying to get them in as well. And then our 3rd grade class is going to be going to the WEAC in Wilmer on Friday for to hear the symphonic orchestra. We were supposed to do that last spring, but spring kind of blended with winter and they had to cancel it. So we're looking forward to actually getting to take part in that here this year. And one other upcoming event, again, there's a quarter-mile long list of them here, but one of them that we are adding here is we will have a Veterans Day program on Friday, November 10th. So obviously we can't do it on the day, but we will have that in the auditorium. We'll have an elementary program in the afternoon with a middle school, high school program in the morning. And we will be sure to have that. I got a calendar message waiting for me here for about 2 weeks to send it out to Billy to make sure we get it in the paper and get that shared out with everyone as well. So I'm looking forward to that. That's all I have for tonight. Any questions for me?
Just wondering what the 5th grade math reading scores?
Math 30, math reading 47%.
Yeah, 37.
For
Do
math.
you have any thoughts as to why the dramatic decrease? We seem to be in the 50s and then We go down.
Honestly, I don't, and it's a snapshot, because again, this is just the one-time test, for the STAR program is what they use to get these assessments. It's hard. I mean, we do it monthly. I think we have either 8 times, I believe they're taking it, or 7 times throughout the entirety of the year. A lot of classrooms do it monthly. Math is typically higher than reading. So that number, I guess I don't have a definitive answer to, but I can, like I said, I'll look and show the last couple of years too, and just see what that looks like. And again, once we have the next round going through, I'll gladly share that with you as well, just to see how that compares to the first round of testing that we did.
Just be interesting if there'd be if there's a challenge, a barrier, or an implication that we could pinpoint to help
Mhm.
that.
And we can check too, and to see even how, instead of even going grade level to grade level, checking fifth to fifth to fifth, I mean, it's kind of nice to follow the class. So look at 4th grades last year, 3rd grades the year previous, just to see
Yeah.
how that number compares to where they're at now.
You know, I think, as Mitchell said, it's just a snapshot of that day that I think it'll make more sense over time when we get that data, you know, to compare it. Because which is the one that is kind of a blip?
The 5th grade math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 5th grade math, I mean, if your 3 best math students were sick that day, it can skew the data that much. But so I think
It's been super helpful.
I think Mitchell, if you're able to share that with the board,
Yeah.
you know, in either 30 days or 60 days and see where it's at.
And I like your thought of following that class all the way, its progression.
Yeah,
all the
because
way
it's,
up.
because I know a lot of times if you just look across
Mhm.
evenly, that's not really fair, because it's, each class, is, unique, different students, and I could look at class numbers too, but it is fair to say that, depending on class size, if you have 80 students in a class compared to 30 students in a class, that could really sway things as well, so.
I mean, just nice to know to kind of pinpoint and if there's anything that we could do to make a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, Jen Wheatley, you're next.
Awesome, thank you. When I get into mine, I'm just wanted to throw a little bit about the phone and dress code stuff on there for you to peruse at your own leisure. Overall, I think things have gone really good for the start of the school year. Want to highlight homecoming. We had an activity every day of the week, which was awesome. Started with a little welcome in the morning on Monday when we all got in, about 20 minutes, and then we had our macho volleyball and our power puff and that kind of stuff, culminating, of course, in our end of the week pep rally. There was so much energy in there. It was one of those goosebump inducing moments because it was so loud, and we had the entire district was in the gym, which is what we like to do. But when you hear
Chant, but
the fight song and the cheering and the elementary kids squealing the first time the lights go off because we did our class dances. It was electric, and it felt really good to experience that. So we are looking at making some changes coming up into our winter homecoming, and always in the process of trying to evaluate it and see if we can make it more special for the kids. So hopefully we'll have some things for that. Unfortunately, at the game, of course, with it being canceled, I did have the unfortunate news for all the middle schoolers that I was canceling the bonfire. So as we move forward, one thing I was planning on doing is I'd like the high school, primarily the seniors, to pick what event they want to have, whether it be a bonfire or a dance, and then the middle school would end up having the other option that would be available to them. So that way they have their own kind of unique little experience of their own to kind of have their own time together as a middle school and as a high school. So we've got that going on. And then really, I looked at all my bullet points and I was like, we got a lot of stuff coming up the rest of this month. I do want to highlight bullet point number 2. The Mississippi Supreme Court is not going to be in Montevideo. That's going to be the Minnesota Supreme Court. Apparently I had too many S's on the brain at that point. And so that is coming up on Wednesday. Super, super cool, unique opportunity. We had a Montevideo lawyer came and did a quick little preview for the students, talk to them about etiquette, what the expectations are, what they're going to see. So the state Supreme Court is actually going to be covering a case that is left over from COVID where somebody wasn't able to attend a trial or their hearing, and they were held in contempt using COVID exposure as the reason for that. So it ended up making its way up to the Supreme Court, and so the students for high schools are going to have the opportunity to sit in the gymnasium in Montevideo and listen to what the arguments sound like. And so it's just a really neat opportunity. I did ask a little bit, and nobody was able to say, yes, we've done this before. So I'm very glad that I was able to jump on as soon as Chris from Montevideo asked me if we'd do it. So very neat thing for them. We're sending, about 211 students and 12 staff. And so we're going to take up 4 buses and make the trek over on Wednesday. It'll be good. And then continuing with some of the different things in the past, I've highlighted a lot of the opportunities that we have for students and, in career and educational opportunities for them to be able to explore job shadowing, attend career fairs, so on and so forth. So just continuing that process. And as we hear about more opportunities, Superintendent Ostad actually brought forth one that was called the Ignite session. And so we rounded up the troops and we did that also. So more opportunities we have for the students to get a better hold on what's realistic for them in their post-secondary careers, the better. And so we'll keep promoting that. And I'll just leave the rest of that there for you to take a peek at. Questions for me? All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, on to you, Josh.
Yeah, well, good evening to everybody. I just want to thank Mr. Wheatley and also Mr. Kent for just providing options for our kids and opportunities for our kids. Turn back the clock, 10, 15 years ago, many school districts and school boards were writing, mottos and things they stood for and stuff like that. And it was preparing for the 21st century and giving kids 21st century skills. But yeah, it's like very few people, wrote down what those skills were because it just sounded good. 21st century skills, planning for jobs that you don't know that are going to even exist. And I think all these opportunities that the kids have, they get to work on soft skills. And I think a soft skill is a 21st century skill. Wherever you work, you're going to have conversation with somebody. You're going to have to follow direction. And I see all those pre-K 5th graders for the walk to school day that they had to follow rules with getting off the bus, waiting, finding their teacher, coming here, following a certain path, and all being along with other kids their grade, maybe a little bit older, but just doing those kinds of things is a great soft skill to learn. And I think for the high school to get together, the middle school and the elementary school for some of the homecoming activities, we had study labs that volunteered in elementary classrooms. They played some bingo, and bingo itself is probably not super educational, but it's an older kid working with a younger kid, maybe building a relationship that I think is just so rewarding for our kids. So thank you, both of you, for giving our kids those opportunities. They're just great, and it's never going to show up in a test score, but it's going to show up in 10 years or 20 years when they come back to either live with us or work with us or bring their children back to our district. So thank you. A couple things I want to share tonight. There was a branding and logo committee that started last year. We met this fall to discuss some options, and later on in our board discussion, I'll walk through some examples of things that the group is working on. When we met this fall, I wanted them to know, and I want you to know too as a school board, that we want to honor history and we want to honor tradition, but we also have a desire to have things uniform. Just as a quick commercial and snapshot to what we'll talk about in a little bit, if you look around this room, there's a sign over there that has some different font and different colors that's different than the M that is up on the clock, that is also different than the M that is over Mitchell's left shoulder, which is also different than Mitchell. You take you have a piece of paper with letterhead stationery on it. Yeah, right there. Oh, yeah. If you look at that, there's another M. So just in this room alone, we have all of these are some cool things, and whoever put them together, they took time and energy to do it. But just what could we do? What could some of our next steps be? Our POC continued to meet and gathering information from staff and custodians and also coaches. That is something that Jim is working on right now, is getting some coaches to be able to attend our next POC meeting, just to get some more to hear their voice, so that we make good decisions going forward. Partnering with the city on some certain elements that needs some clarification, because our grounds butt up to neighboring communities, and we use the city water and septic and things like that. We have to work with those administrators in the school or in the community, just partner with them. It's not that we're partnering with them, that they're gonna now all of a sudden use our facilities or that we're sharing some things, but just we have to be on the same page, going forward so that all of our legal elements are in line. It's exciting to see these pieces together. I'm able to meet with superintendents, usually virtually every single week, and they're very jealous, of the opportunity that McRae has to have this and just the excitement of this. I was working with Jesse this last week. I'm just, it's so exciting to know that we're going to have this huge classroom. What was the words we called it, even, or maybe you penned in quotes.
As far as.
Just the fact that we have the largest learning.
Yeah, our largest learning space.
Yeah. And just being able to, we'll be able to take all of the pre-K 12th graders that were in the gym and take them all out there. And they'll all be able to look on, to the field as like a stage or whatever. So, just many, many cool opportunities. Moving on, Mr. Kent Wheatley and Mr. Wheatley have done really a great job preparing our professional development today. So today when our students were not here and some other staff were not here, the teachers today they were getting CPR training. They were also getting Narcan training, and we were able to hand around, so everybody got to put a package of Narcan in their hands to see what that would look like. And then our school nurse, Donna, just did a great job with answering questions and giving good information about that. It's important for the school board to realize that our teachers, every 5 years, they need to do relicensing. And so therefore, these continuing ed credits that they get on professional development are very important days. And we'll have more as the year goes on. Some of the professional development that we have is led internally, or Mr. Kent or Mr. Wheatley will find as independent people. But then also too, Southwest West Central will play a role too, because they've got resources and they've got speakers and they've got professional development that's pre-prepared that they can bring out to us. Staff and student senate, coaches, admin did a great job with homecoming week. Just so you know, homecoming, the kids now call it HOCO. Okay, it's not just homecoming. So if you hear that or hashtag HOCO, it's not inappropriate. It's homecoming.
It's like the goat.
I want to share too Judd and Mitchell shared about just the experiences in the gym, and Jim talked about the experiences at the football game and stuff like that. The auditorium provided just a wonderful opportunity for our coronation that we just haven't had before. That's very impressive too, for those kids to walk up there and on top of the stage, and you've got good lighting and you've got good sound and you can hear well, and just it makes the experience just that much more special. Continue to work with Mr. Kent and Ms. Smith, who is our community ed director on student care after school. I have had some parents come in to talk to me still, or not shouldn't say still, but with the desire to still have that, and it is still something we would love to be able to do before the end of the year, maybe even as early as January. But to be able to do that, there are some action steps that we have to put together. We've created some action steps, which I sent to you, and right now we're gathering information from surrounding schools. Probably one of the big items that I wish to share with you is that many schools, actually I can't find one that doesn't do this, but it's their community ed director becomes the director of their school care. Our current community ed director is not full-time. And so that would be something we would have to explore, adding resources to that person, either hours to that person's day, money to that person, to be able to do a good job. But this is very important for our kids and our family. Also too, I think it opens up additional doors too, that if we're able to do it during the school year, wouldn't it be cool if we could do some things into the summer and then provide community ed, activities that the kids can still do where mom and dad don't have to bring them somewhere. I was going to say hall, but bring them somewhere, so they can participate in some of those activities. Maybe it opens up doors for swimming lessons. Maybe it opens up doors for, some extra work with reading and math during the school year. But these are all things that we could explore if we had the programming. We're entering our 6th week of school. Right now, our teachers and students are preparing for parent-teacher conferences coming up on October the 18th and also the 26th. Right now, we have a very traditional style of conferences. And I would love to, over the course of the year, look at flexible type conferences that can meet moms and dads and family members even more where they're at. Not everybody has the flexibility or the means to be able to actually come to the school from 4 to 8 on this day. And if teachers and staff are willing to have some flexibility in it, that might open some new doors to our families. So that you're aware too, I think communication is so important. So how do our teachers communicate with moms and dads? Infinite Campus, which some people will throw out LMS as an acronym. That means Learning Management System, or some will also say it's an SIS, which is a Student Information System. That's what Infinite Campus is. Elementary classrooms use Class Dojo for communication, email, phone calls, mail, and then still in-person meetings too. And yesterday was a MASA, a Great Start cohort, which thank you very much for allowing me to attend those. There's about 30 new superintendents across the state that meet during these cohorts, and they bring in speakers to talk about many things. Yesterday there was one, I attended virtually. It was in Duluth, and so to save some mileage and to be fiscally responsible, I could do the same thing on Zoom. So I attended virtually. It was great just to network with other superintendents across the state. Lots of conversation with policy and legal conversations, best practices, and also to leadership styles were the topics of yesterday's workshop. Any questions?
Just wondering about that new Sick and Safely.
Yeah.
Have we done any looking at the budget as to what additional funding that or impact that might have on our finances, and if that would, how many people that would impact, or?
Yeah, it impacts anybody that we employ, is where it's at. And so the earned sick and safe time is, Minnesota does have it, but they're changing some of the language of it currently. And that goes into effect January 1st of 2024. I still think the legislature has some bugs to work out, because as the law reads today, and I'm not a lawyer, but as I look at it, we would even have to give sick time to a substitute teacher. And I don't know how you give, I don't know how to do that, but you may have to. So as we're looking to negotiations with our different groups, as we're looking at that, I would like to explore having both options available so that we can finalize negotiations and move forward, but then also to just make sure that all of our staff don't go backwards, with the number of days. And then also, so I think in law, it says that you can earn up to 48 hours, I believe, of earned safe and sick time over the course of a calendar year. And there's some wording that if you don't use it, this is where the financial piece comes back in, that you might have to pay that back to those staff members. So and we don't want to put ourselves in a bind that way. As a longtime teacher, there were times in which I had 170 sick days because I was fortunate for when our boys were younger that my wife could stay home with them. So I took very few sick days. Well, that would have just sunk my district if I could turn in 170 days of paid time off. And so no, I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, but it's very much on our minds as we're negotiating and being fair to both ends. I don't want staff to go backwards in the number of sick days they have or what they've earned, but I also too don't want to put the district in a situation where this is going to be a really expensive June.
So if it's mandated to start January 1st,
Yeah.
will negotiations happen before that?
It will, and we've already started with
Okay.
the teachers and other groups too. So other schools have finalized their teachers contract where they've left the language for their sick time in there, and then also as a memorandum of understanding that if the law stays the same way, that would also be amended, in January.
So
I still think they have some work to do.
are you thinking of front loading? Are you going to prorate it out based upon every pay period?
Yeah,
Just wondering.
and you can do either.
There's a lot of different options out there.
It becomes challenging with the size that we are, because that's difficult to do. We don't have a whole bank of business people that are doing all those things. Southwest West Central though does have resources for us. I don't want to answer that question because I don't know what the repercussions might be, because I don't know which is going to be better for our staff and better for us financially.
Well, and I think also for Kim in her role, because you have to document it.
Yeah.
They have to have the balance, and then you have to document it on every paycheck stub, what they've got left in it, so that's just another,
Yep.
devil in the detail.
You guys all know who Goldie Gopher is, right? And you know how he spins his head completely around? That's what happens sometimes when Kim and I talk about this, is that
Yeah.
she picks her head up and turns it completely around, and then, yeah.
It's unfortunate, there's not a lot of detail, and everybody's kind of doing different things,
Yeah.
and hopefully nobody will get zinged for doing
Correct.
what we can do.
She was doing virtual training or.
Yeah, I will be too.
Okay.
We're gonna try to go to as many as we can. There's also a legal seminar coming up in early November that we're gonna attend that has a breakout session on that very thing too.
Hopefully somebody knows what's going on.
I know. I was told today by I won't mention who the source is, but they said you wait until a big district finalizes their contract and you steal their language because they have a lawyer that works right down the hall from the superintendent. The only lawyer we have is lawyer Jim Trulock. Oh, don't put that in the newspaper. All that editorial stuff, just leave that. Thank you, Deb.
Yeah, anything else you wanted to touch on?
No,
Any other
I'll talk about
questions?
that logo stuff in a little bit.
Okay. All right, 6.2 committee reports. I don't think we really have much to report on. John, we were at that last meeting, it was just kind of an update and
Yeah, some of the initial changes that we had made.
Made
they
the previous
had presented
meeting,
to us, and
right.
then it was more of talking to coaches and getting their input on like specific field equipment and
distances they required for various activities. And,
and getting preferences on that kind of stuff.
We talked about fencing options and
Yeah,
where the
right, yeah.
opening should be.
Yeah, parking
You know,
for
where the-
ambulances. Yeah, it was just kind of fine tuning some of the stuff we'd already talked
We
about.
spent a lot of time talking about where to put snow and how it's going to work, and
Yeah.
you know, you kind of go in circles, but try and talk through all the issues before it actually snows. So
Yeah, right. So I think there's not a meeting for a while because of gathering all this information from coaches.
yeah, I
and
just got an email from Chris today asking for a finalized date for that coaches meeting. So
Okay.
and I'm assuming that once they meet, we'll meet
We'll
again.
have a meeting again, right? Okay, so that's all we've got going there. So 6.3 is board discussion, and then we'll bring up this logo.
Yeah,
Do
perfect.
you want to go ahead and kind of?
Yeah, I can.
affiliate it?
Jesse, do you have access to put that up on the screen? So these are some of the images of Wolverines, M's, and fonts that are around the building currently. And they all have a positive impact when it was built, but we're just kind of all over the place with different styles. So like in the very middle is the more traditional McCray M. That is found on Letterman's jackets. If you go to the right, the Minnesota Gopher M, if you will, that's what's on our baseball caps. So, I mean, in the same season, you might have boy or girl A or B wearing a Letterman's jacket that has one M on it, and because they like the newer style of that Gopher M, that's on the hat. And so, and Jesse, I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit. Jesse is part of this committee that started last year. And what did it come out of? Like, how was this? What was the drive?
Not even, I think part of it was a few different things, all that have kind of been boiling at the same time of a desire to clean things up from a variety of people, but then also Denise wanting to have a conversation about, for lack of a better word, all the blank white walls in the building. What things we could do there. So as we kind of started talking on that front with Denise, with kind of what Denise was looking at, then we also kind of stepped back and said, we need to deal with the logo, all of this kind of needs to come together a little more coherently, and then we can start dealing with I think the one that everybody kind of thinks of mentally is that hall from the high school commons all the way down to the new elementary gym. That is just one big long stretch, and there's nothing on it. There's nothing interesting. It's kind of this is a spot we could do something really cool, interesting, mural, whatever it ends up being. But we can't do that until we know what our identity is. So that's kind of where it started, and we kind of got to this point now.
So if you go to the next page, you know, the first place was, let's start with colors. What do we call the green? What do we call the blue? What do we call the silver? What are our school colors? That way, if there was a mural and a large M or a Wolverine was painted in the hallway, we've got a place to start. We've got, you know, hex numbers, we got Pantone, you know, numbers, we have names for what these are. So starting with the McCray colors. All right, flip on, Jesse. So then also too, adopting just what a font might look like. So if you are going to be putting things on a web page, this is what it may look like. And so we'd have to kind of go into a database or create one so that we knew what all the letters of the alphabet would look like. Okay, with this font. Go ahead. This would become the McCray M, and in different variations. So if you wanted to have a green shirt with a blue M and a white, you know, that'd be fine. And so Jasmine Goldbush and others assembled just, you know, kind of assortment of M's that would be used. So if you had gray sweatshirt, blue on it, it would be outlined with white. So there would just be something stock that we would use.
And I think this is the M there we were using on the field too.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
That is
I'm okay
accurate.
with that.
Yep, there is a more trendy M that has kind of green and blue gradients through it. And that's the one that's on that letterhead that Mitchell has. But this would be a solid M. And you're correct. This is what the POC has put in the middle of the field currently. All right, next page. Jed, would you like to ask a question? Yes, you may. You may.
So when I started in 17, there had been significant work that had been done on the logo. The gradient was part of it. The font page that Superintendent Ostad showed was part of it. I remember because I got the documents from Mr. Kozlowski. Was that something that was officially approved by the board?
I don't remember.
I don't remember it.
recall.
Because it was just kind of everywhere when I first started, and I was like, okay, well, what do I use? I'm going to do something with a letterhead because I use a letterhead with a gradient on it that I cobbled it together.
Mm-hmm. So then, there we go. So this is an option for a new Wolverine idea. This was something that was created by Jasmine Goldbush, and our in-house art teacher. And it's very cool that you can even, if you squint just a little bit, there is an M. There is 2 green C's, and then the nose of the Wolverine is an R. So you can see that in the design, which is kind of cool. I know you have to turn your head just a little bit. Just don't turn your head all the way around. You can go on to the next. And so here are just some other options of some things that we could do. You can flip to the next. This was kind of not kind of. This is cool too. Put in the Wolverine claw marks in there. I think after the board that was part of the POC, after you guys left, or were you here when we brainstormed? Should we put the claw on there as an option?
The paw?
No, the claw. So like that. Right now we just have an M that's in the middle of the field.
Oh,
What would it look like if there was an M with the scratch coming through it? I don't know.
I don't remember talking
No,
about that
that's
specifically.
probably not. It may come up later. And then and then there's some pause. So this is just awareness so that you guys know that we're kind of working through some of these things. It wouldn't be like law, like all of a sudden we have to go down and throw everything out and redo everything. That'd be too expensive. But going forward, when we buy new uniforms, this is the M that we're going to put on the uniform. Going forward, this is what the letterhead is going to look like. it'd be really cool, I think, to have more signage in the building where this is our agricultural wing, this is where our math classes are, this is our music wing, and to be able to have that McRae M or that Wolverine and have the right colors and help people so they know, you go to a volleyball game, and if you don't walk in by the concession stand, you don't know where the concession stand is. Or vice versa, you might get to the concession stand, but you have no idea where the varsity gym is, you know? So just some of those signage things is what we would eventually use these items for. Any questions?
Has there been, like, I like them, I think they're cool.
Yep.
And it sounds like more teacher involvement. Has there been much student involvement?
I don't know the history of the student involvement. I do know, and maybe Jesse, you can help me out. We had 2 community members. Were both of them parents? And that doesn't have to be answered, but we did have community members that were on the committee. But I do think that, yeah, students should have input on it. You know, I think we just wanted to have you see what we're working on, so that there's conversation, there's kind of some excitement with that. But I think student involvement, I think more staff involvement, more community involvement. Absolutely. Great point.
Yeah, I think they're all nice suggestions and ideas.
But it's even interesting too, if you walk around the building, there's some Wolverine claws that have 5 toes, there's some that have 4 toes, and I don't know. So this kind of just brings it all together.
It would be nice to have a go-to document that
Yeah.
you can just access when you want to decide what's going to work for something. Do they have a deadline or something they're working against?
No, there's no deadline. We haven't even set the next committee meeting.
Okay.
We just thought that, okay, you know, there wasn't a lot on the agenda tonight. Why not take some time to talk about this and just to continue to seek input? Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, any other questions or thoughts on that? If not, we'll go to 7.0 business items, of which there appears to be none on there. Unless somebody's got something they want to add. Okay, if not, we've got upcoming meetings listed. School board meeting will be November 13th and the next December 11th. So I need a motion to adjourn. Carmel, second?
Second.
John, all right.